Hi, welcome to GMST Solutions Private Limited Digital Learning. So today topic, we are implementing Spring Boot using REST API plus Java Persistence API JPA using MySQL database. So without database, already I have implemented one application. So please watch the previous videos. And there is without using the database, using the collection framework, we implemented the CRUD operations. The same CRUD operations we are implementing here with the help of the MySQL database. So for basic reference, you can go for the previous videos, and if you want to implement any databases, so this is the step to follow. Okay, so this example entire application is providing to you end-to-end application flow and database connectivity, how it will communicate to the database, and you will get knowledge on the JPA and the MySQL database, REST API, and Spring Boot. The REST API Spring Boot, same like without database and with the database also same operations only. But JPA and MySQL is a new thing in this video. Previous video is without JPA and MySQL database. So that's the reason I'm creating the same application, adding the JPA and the MySQL database. So I have the one document for minimizing the time. So with that document, we'll follow the step by step, and you also, if you want to follow me parallelly, you can start implementation with parallelly if you have the Eclipse IDE or my STS tool, IntelliJ IDE. So any IDE you can use. I'm using the STS tool, Spring tools that I'm using. So check in your system MySQL database is there or not. So the required softwares we need for implementing this application, JDK 11 I'm using, and Spring Boot 2 I'm using, the Spring Boot 2 I'm using, and MySQL database I'm using, Postman for testing. So I have given the previous video where to download the Postman, how to plug into the Chrome Postman for testing. And if you have the Swagger documentation, you can use the Swagger documentation also. But in this video, we're not implementing the Swagger, just using the Postman to test the endpoints. JDK 11, Spring Boot 2, MySQL, and Postman. So in the Spring Boot only, we are implementing the REST API. Okay, we are using the REST APIs. So these are the basic required softwares. And the CRUD operations, I hope everyone knows what is the CRUD operation. Once again, I'm giving the elaboration on what is the CRUD operations. See, in the CRUD operation, C is nothing but create operation. C is nothing but create operation, means adding the new record to the database. R is the read operation, retrieving the data from the database. Update is existing data if you want to modify. So with the help of the update, we can modify the existing data. So next, delete if you want to remove the data where ID is matching. So for equivalent HTTP methods, we have the post method in REST API, read method is get method, update put method, delete method. So these are the HTTP REST API methods: post mapping or post, get mapping or get, put mapping or get, put mapping or put method. For delete mapping or delete. So these are the HTTP endpoints in controller layer. So if you watch the previous video, same thing it is there already. And here also we are implementing the same operations, but exception handling also we are adding for the HTTP protocols. So Spring Boot REST API, Java Persistence API JPA, it will use internally is the ORM, okay, Hibernate mapping, object relational mapping, okay, and using MySQL database. If you want to replace Oracle, you can replace the Oracle. If you want to go for the H2 database, you can go for the H2 database also. H2 database. Fine. Now, before going to implement the CRUD operations, so I have created the one document. So in that document, step by step, I have mentioned what we have to do. So step by step, we'll follow that and complete the application successfully. and we'll see the output. Using the postman, we can test finally all the CRUD operations. Now, so you can see the steps here. Steps to create Spring Boot plus REST API plus MySQL CRUD operations. The step 1, create the Spring Boot starter project with required dependencies. So required dependencies means we have the starter profiles in our Spring Boot project. What are the dependencies you want, you can select while creating the project. Or if you want to add the external dependencies, we can add the external dependencies also if you want to add it. Okay, so start the first point. Start the first point. I have the Spring Tool Suite, and here you can see the file. After opening the Spring Tool Suite, go for the file, new, new Spring Boot starter project. Spring starter project. So here the name Spring starter project. So I'm implementing the Spring Boot with REST API using MySQL database. Okay, MySQL database and a JPA. Okay, MySQL JPA, Java Persistence API. CRUD operations. If you want to mention CRUD also, you can mention it. Spring Boot REST API using the MySQL database. MySQL database. Spring Boot REST API, MySQL, JPA, CRUD operations. Okay, or project name. And the type of the build type. What is the project? Is a Gradle project or Maven project? I'm using the Maven project. Okay, and the packaging type is a jar, and the Java version 11. We have the even 20 also, but I'm using the 11 only. Okay, Java language, and package name is com.test, and our project name is same name, artifact ID, Spring Boot, REST API, MySQL, JPA, and CRUD operations. And description, if you want to mention in description, you can mention it. So just demo project for Spring Boot CRUD operations. Okay, CRUD operation. So that is not required, but if you want, you can mention it. So package name is com.test. So after that, I'm selecting the what are the required dependencies I want. So I want the Spring Web. If you type the Spring Web here, just web, you can see the Spring Web. And I need the data JPA, JPA, and I need the validations, and I need the activators, Spring Boot activators. I need dev tools for the live reloading. Okay, live reloading. And see activators, why we need the activators, you can see that. See activators supports built-in or custom endpoints. So if you want to monitor and manage your application, such as application health metrics, season, and what is the endpoints working states. If you want to check the health of our application, we will go for the activators. Okay. See, Spring Boot dev tools for the live reloading purpose, and validation is the, if you want to go for any validation of the properties, and the Spring Boot activators for the checking the health of, about our application, health metrics. Data JPA for implementing the CRUD operations with the help of the ORM tool internally. You can see the Spring Data and Hibernate internally. And Spring Web is implementing the REST API and MVC, Spring MVC project. Okay. So these are the required dependencies. And if you want to add the MySQL connector, we can add with the help of the Maven repository also. Okay, finish it. Okay. So after selecting all the required dependencies, okay, and you can check in your format.xml file, any other than this, if you want to add the dependencies, we can add it. Activators, data JPA, starter validations, web is there. Okay. Dev tools, and we need the MySQL database, MySQL driver. So from where we can copy that, either if you go for the MVN repository official website, from there you can copy, or if you have the previous projects, from there also you can copy it. No issue. Okay, so here I have the document. Okay, here I have the document. So you can see the dependencies. So we added the data JPA and validation, web, and the dev tools, activators. Okay, so what is user activators? To expose operational information about the running application, health metrics and info. So these all things. Okay, endpoints. And if you want to see the MySQL connector, from where we can copy, so we have the official website. So MySQL connector 8.0.18. So Maven dependency. So we need the Maven dependency. If you type, you can see the official website from the MVN repository. From here we can copy the data. From here we can copy the data. So it is required. Just if you click and copy the Maven dependency for MySQL connector, just you can paste. Okay. So DevTools. Okay, that's it. So these are the required dependencies. Even you can verify your document. So the required dependencies. So added the data JPA and validation is there, and web starter web is there, and dev tools, activators, and the MySQL connector. Starter test by default you will get, not required. Okay, so we will get by default. Okay, so MySQL, dev tools, starter web, validation, and the data JPA activators. Okay, done. Save it. So these are the required dependencies. So once we added the dependencies, and you can verify your Maven dependencies, it is downloaded all the required dependencies. You can see the so activators and MySQL connectors, SLF4j, log4j. Okay, you can see loggers. So MySQL connector and everything is there. And even if you want to update your project, the Maven project, right click on the project, right click, just search for the Maven, just search for the Maven update project, force update project, done. So once it is complete 100%, then we can go for the Java coding. So we are implementing this project using the layered architecture. So for better abstraction purpose. Okay. Now you can see the second point. Create Spring Boot starter project with required dependencies and add it. Then set up project with the help of the layered architecture. So layered architecture means required packages you need to maintain. So we are implementing the entity package, service package, repository package, DO package, like that we need to implement. For better understanding layered architecture diagram, we can see the layered architecture diagram. This is the way to implement in a layered architecture way. So you can see the user interface, business logic, and data layer. Okay, infrastructure, you can see framework logging and everything. So the same way I'm implementing the project. Just follow the create entity class or pojo class. Okay, step is create entity class. Inside the src main Java. So by default, you will get the starter project with the main method class. The main method class contains Spring Boot application annotation. That Spring Boot application annotation about your project configuration. Previous videos I have already explained very well in different examples. And even once again I'm giving Spring Boot application annotation is nothing but combination of three annotations. So if you want to replace the Spring MVC environment XML file configurations with the help of the Spring Boot application, we can replace. So with the help of the component scan, we are scanning the base packages. Okay, base packages, and enable auto configuration. We are implementing the dispatcher servlet and initializing the object. So what are the web NVC environment configuration we have, and mappings, it will take care. Enable auto configuration. So what are the prefix and suffix for your internal resource view resolvers, it will take care. Enable auto configuration. And Spring Boot configuration, if you have any bean configurations, any bean creation, it will take care about the beans. Bean is nothing but object creation and component scan and dispatches are late and handler mappings, internal resource view resolver, web MVC environment, it will take care about the enable auto configuration. Combination of three annotation, nothing but Spring Boot application annotation. Okay, so better to understand, you can watch previous videos or you can go for the documentation also. So this is the Spring Boot application annotation. By default you will get when you create the Spring Boot starter project. So with the help of So combination of three annotation. It is replacing completely Spring MVC environment configuration. XML files we are eliminating. Okay, done. And the run method starts our project. And while running your project, the default port number is a Tomcat 8080 and endpoints and base packages we will retrieve automatically from our project configuration with the help of the Spring Boot application annotation. Okay, done. Next, so create the entity class. Here I'm creating the simple entity class, a new class. I'm taking employee class. Package name is dot entity, or you can go for the model. Anything is fine. Okay, just create employee class. So inside the properties already I have taken in document. Follow the document clearly for easiest way implementing and saving the time. So here I have the properties here. So I'm taking the properties. Okay, I have the properties. In that properties, if you want to give your own custom column names also, we can mention, no issue on that. If you want to mention your own column names, we can mention it. So this is the required properties. And it is normal Java class. If you want to convert to the entity class, that is a Hibernate configuration class, the Hibernate mapping file. So using the entity annotation. So we have the entity annotation. Okay, and table. Okay, table annotation. So what is the table name equal to employees, and id must and should we need the number format, that is integer, long, or anything. So id annotation is a marking primary key. And if you want to generate the auto generation, you can go for the generated auto generation value. Okay, generated value. Okay, so strategy equal to auto increment. Generation type auto increment, the id will be increment automatically. And if you want to give the your own column names, we have the other type column tag, that type column tag, column tag. Okay, you can take column tag here. The name of the column equal to first name. Okay, first name, and it is nullable accepting or not. Okay, false. The same for the remaining columns also. You can see. So first name, it is last name. Okay, last name. It is email ID. You can go for the email address or any something you can take. Email address. So these are the column names in your database table: first name, last name, and email address. Or if you're not taking the column custom column annotation, custom column names, it will take by default first name, last name, email ID is your table column names. Okay, IDs like that. And go for the setters and getters, source, generate getters and setters. And if you want to create the toString method, you can create toString method also. Generate it. Okay, and so constructor injection, if you want to apply the constructors, go for the constructor injection also. Public employee, and the parameterized employee, you can go for the source, generate constructors using fields. So this is a simple constructor injection. Okay, done. And if you want to implement the loggers also, we can implement the logger factory, public static final, private static final. So logger. So the logger interface, we have the SLF4J. Okay, logger equal to logger factory dot logger get sorry I logger factory not okay, get logger employee dot class. Okay, that's it. If you want to go for the setter object for this getter object, you can create it. It will return the logger object. So what is the use of the loggers means? So if you want to go for the tracking or application, okay, so any operations what we are doing, so you can go for the debug mode or error mode or information. So with the help of the loggers we can achieve the it is expecting that logging takes through concrete implementation of any interfaces. Okay, so with the help of the logger, so we are achieving the tracking your application status, so timestamps and everything we can get it. Okay, so loggers the same thing already I have make in your documentation. You can see the logger. Okay, inside this logger you can take it and fine. So next we can go for the exception handling. So private static final like so exception handling in the sense, okay, exception handling in the sense, if you want to create the custom exceptions and custom exception messages, we will create our own exceptions and handling the globally we have the controller advice annotation. Using that class we can handle the globally in our Spring Boot application. Okay, so just go for the exception package and add the your exception classes, custom exception classes. Okay, that's it. So here I'm going for the another package, the exception package. Okay, so in that exception package, any class name if you want to create, so I'm taking the class name is error details.java. So in that we have the information about your error, so name and timestamp and everything. What is the error status? Okay, error details.java. So you can take the same name and package name is exception. Okay, exception package. Okay, finish it. So inside this, what are the information you need? So you can take it. I hope everyone knows how to create the setters and getters. Okay, just import util data. Okay, that's it. So inside this class, what are the parameters? Timestamp, message, and details. So details in the sense what is the exception details, and the message what is the custom defined messages. Timestamp what is the time, current time when it was a cursor exception. So this is a simple error details class. Okay, done. Next we need to create the another class, that is a resource not found class. Resource not found class. So that is a custom exception class. So the same package only, new class, resource not found exception class. I hope everyone knows how to create the custom exceptions. Normal Java class extends with exception class and take string parameters constructed. That's it. So public resource not found constructor string message super keyword with message. Now if you want to add any other annotations, we have the annotations also here, we can take it. So resource not found exception. Okay, here you can see the resource not found exception class. We are adding the serial version ID and just you can see the string message. You can pass the message here argument. That's it. In the class level, I'm taking simple response status. Just import it. Just import it and add the serial version ID. Okay. This is a simple custom exception class. So when the resource is not found, we have to go for the resource not found exception. The status, we have to give the exception messages. What are the messages we are taking? Okay. Exception messages. Next, global exception class. There we need to call the exception handler annotation or custom exception class name. So create the global exception class name. Global exception class name. So just take the global exception class name. Okay. Set the same package only. Class. Just take it. So inside that class, you need to add the exception handler classes. So how many user different classes we have, that many exception handler classes we can take. The top of the class, we need to add at the top controller advice. Controller advice, it is a global exception handling. Okay, you can see the same code I have implemented in our document. So controller advice, you can see that. Okay, global exception handler. Okay. So inside that, what are the exception classes we have? We need to add the exception classes. Okay. So just take it. You can see exception handler annotation, response entity. Okay. So here import it. So we have the util date is the current date. Import util date. HTTP status. Okay, you can see it. So even imports also you can verify. So what are the imports we have here? Okay, you can verify this. So these are the required annotation. The controller advice is the global exception handling for our Spring Boot applications. So here you can see the specialization of component for classes that declare exception handler or init binder or model attributes. So across multiple controller classes, it will handle. So entire application, not for the one specific operations. Okay, controller advice. Declare explicitly as Spring beans are auto detected via class path scanning automatically. If you go for the responsibility, each and every method we can write the exception handling. Okay, error details class object we are creating and passing the your date and message and error details we are passing on this. So exceptions done. Next, we need to create the repository layer. So repository layer. So next, what is the step we have? Create repository layer. So after adding the entity class, create repository layer. So just interface. That is a simple interface. New interface. So what is the class name? Employee repository. Package name repository. Package name is repository. Just finish it. Okay. So it is simple. We can mark as a that of repository annotation and extends with JPA repository. It will provide all the queries. No need to write single method, also single custom query. JPA repository. Type is our class name employee class. Import that. And ID is long. We took the long type. Generic. That's it. And even inside this interface, if you want to make your own methods, you can create it. No issue. But it will provide the default JPA methods and Hibernate methods. We can execute creating data, insert query, and update query for save methods, and find all select star from table name, and delete remove method delete from table name where id is matching, update data update and set query, and it will take care internally with where id is matching, get by id, so select start from table where id is matching. This all operations it will give by the jpa repository, internet will implement CRUD repository. Okay, so this is a very fast implementation for the code operations, no need to write any ever custom code. So that's it for the repository, just repository. Next, we need to go for the DAO layer. So create the DAO layer interface and implement the classes. Okay, take another layer is DAO layer. So interface I'm taking employee DAO data access objects. Or if you want to take the small letters also, employee DAO interface. No issue. Okay, employee DAO. So just go for the package name is DAO package. Finish. Okay, so inside this, what are the services we are providing? Find all means list all, and find by id, update, delete, and read. So already I have the methods in the DAO layer. So just take it reference from your previous code. Just I'm taking. Okay. So here I'm taking the DAO layer. So interface method, just interface employee DAO. So find by id, remove is delete operation, add is create operation, update for the updating the employee data, and list find all is nothing but selection from table and read the all the records from your database. Done. So inside your interface, just paste it, nothing is there. That's it. Okay, import your employee class, that's it, and list is util package. Now what we are giving actually here, so we are giving the abstract methods for your application with achieving more abstraction with past application performance with the help of the interfaces. If you go for normal classes, there is object creation and implementation, so lengthy code, and so performance compared to the interfaces little bit slow. So that's the reason we are going for the interfaces with implementation. So find by id, we can read the record from the database based on the id where id is matching. So remove deleting the record from the or database where id is matching. Add is nothing but inserting the record, creating the new record. Updating where id is matching, there we are updating the data. So list all. So here we have the int id, this all things. Even if you want to take the integer, if you want to take the long, because our id is a long, if you want to take the long also, no issue. Or int also, it won't give any errors because it is a internally int is, it will go for the long type, no issue on that. Okay, done. Okay, fine. So now we need to go for the implementation class for the interface. So for implementing is nothing but providing the body for your abstract methods, and with the help of the repository only we can achieve the services. Find by id, remove, insert, update, read. These are things we can achieve with the help of the repository methods only. So just create the inside the DAO package implementation class, normal Java class, employee DAO IMPL class, implementation class. Okay, just finish it. So inside this class implements your interface methods, employee DAO methods. Okay, so here you can see the DAO operations we are implementing. You can add unimplemented methods. Okay, before adding, here I am taking the one annotation, that is the DAO access we are doing repository. I am making as the repository annotation. Okay, data access objects. You can check it. So the repository annotation marking is nothing but, so tested driven development that is design where we have the data access objects. You can see the data access object. Okay, so here we need the repository. So I'm taking private employee repository, employee repository, Okay, just auto void. And even if you want to add the loggers, we can add the logger implementation also. And all the methods we need to provide the body. You can see all the methods. You need to provide the body. So here inside the methods, okay. So just you can see employee find by ID. So we need to return the single ID, single employee record. So I'm taking the try catch finally, try catch block, exception handling I'm doing. So here if you implement the logger, that is good. So we have the logger syntax. So you can take it, already I have implemented. So logger, and add the imports. Just you need to add the SLF for the imports. That's it. Logger factory and logger. Okay, logger factory and logger. That's it. Now inside the exception, I'm using the logger dot error. So e dot get message. What is exception message? Comma exception class name and information about your message. Exception class name. Printing the exception class object. And inside the try block, so we need to go for employee object. We need employee object. We need emp equal to emp repository dot find by id, so long id dot get method will get a single employee object. If you go for the find by id, it will accept optional type. That's the reason I'm taking the get method. Okay, done. So finally we need to return emp object. If it is null, it will go for the null object. That's it. And remove is nothing but the same way. We need to go for the try catch exception, so here logger dot error, so e dot get message, so exception message. Okay. So inside the try block, I'm taking removing. We need to go for the delete operation. Okay. So I need the employee object equal to, so emp repository dot find by id, find by id, and so that object we need to pass as a object in delete method. So or you can take the object also here instead of taking like this. New employee, so emp dot set id, so id you need to pass, and then we have the emp repository dot delete or remove. Okay, you can go for the delete or remove, it will delete it. So this all the documentation already I have given, so you can go for the reference. Okay, okay. See add method, update method, remove method, okay, I have given. Done. So delete operation and find by id. The add is nothing but we need to go for the save operation. So try catch exception e. So logger dot error e dot get message method. Okay, so here emp repository dot save method and pass the emp object. Okay, that's it. You can check it. Add method. Okay, done. Next, update method. So we need the update operation. Catch exception logger dot error e dot get message method. So inside the try block, emp dot set id and emp repository dot save method and pass the emp object. See, directly we are passing the object here where id is matching, that id we need to update it. Okay, done. So update operation. Okay, you can see that update operation. And if you want to list all the data, just call the find all. That's it. We need to return the employee type data here. Employee type data. So try block and catch block. So logger dot error e dot get message exception message comma your exception information. Find all. Okay, return emp repository dot find all. If not, it will go for the null data. So this is the employee do implementation class to provide the body for your employee do interface. Find by id, remove, add, update, and read all operations. Okay, these are the implementation. Done. So do layer is implemented. Next step is the service layer. We need to go for the service layer. You can see that. Create service layer interface and implementation class. Okay, and for this also we have created the document. You can see service layer, create service layer interface and implement class. Okay, so employee service, I'm taking the employee service. Next, new interface, employee service interface, package name is service, package name is service. So inside this, what are the do interface methods we have? The same methods only we can take. There is no change actually. Okay, so do interface methods what we have, we can take the same methods only here also. There is no change. Okay, you can see same methods. Just import util package. Okay, done. And you can verify your do interface also, the same data, I think. Okay, so inside the interface by default all the methods are public abstract only. If you mention, if you're not mentioning, these are the public abstract only. Okay, done. Next, we need to provide the body for your service interface with the implementation class. Just go for the service layer and take the class name is same what we are following the document. Take it. So this is a simple class. Okay, and finish it. And implements service interface. and provide the body for this, and this class is the now service layer. Okay. Service layer. Okay, and we need to add all the methods body. So you can see the add unimplemented methods. Inside the service layer we need our interface DAO object. So for this, just go for the private employee DAO emp DAO object. Just go for the auto add. So create the object. Okay, done. So inside this, if you want to implement any exception handling or something, we can go for exception handling also. And add employee service implementation. And even if you want to go for the logger factory, we can implement logger factory also, we can implement. Okay. So you can see the document here. We took the DAO, just implement the body. So that's it, nothing is. So just I'm taking the one reference message for your application. Okay. Just take it. So here we have the add unimplemented methods. Okay. So remove the comments. For the comments we have, remove it. So here the long id, if the id less than or equal to 0, so we have to provide the exception message, illegal argument exception message. So I'm taking the simple validating for that id. You can see the if id less than or equal to 0, throw new illegal argument exception. Okay, id cannot be 0 or less than 0. Okay, so just calling your empdo method find by id. That's it. The same way for the remaining method, find all is nothing but, so it is not empty or not null, so we have to return and pass the data inside the method body. So here the find all. Okay, if you can go for the employee object or list of employee, so you can take it employee equal to empdo dot find all. That is the list type data. If emp dot size greater than 0, return employee data. Otherwise it is null data. Otherwise it is null. Okay, so you can verify it. Okay, verify it. Next, if you want to add the data, so add the data, you need to go for the exception message. See, add the data. If emp object equal to null, the object is not null. Like that, we need to give the message. The same message I'm taking here. Okay. See, illegal argument. The past object cannot be null if it is null. Okay. Just time being. Now, empdo word dot add employee. Go for the add employee object. That's it. Next, another one. The same object. Okay, employee object equal to null. So you need to pass it. Okay. So here we need to pass empdo dot update long id and employee object. Done. Okay, fine. So the remove method is finally the same, like id is not null. Okay, we can go for the where id we are taking the same object only I'm taking here. So id is not null and empdo dot remove method. That's it. So this is the service implementation layer. Next, control layer, I hope everyone knows because already we implemented the previous examples and a number of even Spring Boot MVC, Spring MVC, Spring with REST API, different. So this is the business logic. And finally, we need to go for the controller layer to provide the endpoint services to the end users. Okay, we'll see that. So this is a simple service layer. Okay, very simple. We are implementing. Okay, done. Next, go for the controller layer and implement the controller class. So here I'm taking the simple controller layer, new class, employee controller, package name is controller package. Just finish it. So this class is controller class. If you want to convert normal Java class to controller class, we need to go for the other tab, REST controller, REST controller, and implement the get mapping for the find by ID. So public employee type, you can take employee type, find by ID. Okay, find by ID. We need the data path variables. Okay, path variables, and we can take the value equal to variable ID something and converting to the long type, long ID, then passing to the your methods. So I hope everyone knows request mapping, get mapping, that of get mapping. So these things already we implemented. So employees, URL, these are things. Okay. So for time being, implementing the controller layer, already I have the endpoints because you guys knows very well. Already we have implemented these things. Okay. So inside the class, I'm taking the document, reference document. You can see the all the imports to the controller layer. Okay. You can see the same what we implemented previously, same thing we're taking employee poser class and the employee service class, and we have the exceptions. Okay, we have the exception classes where we created that exception, resource not found exception, and remaining things are the inbuilt get mapping, post mapping, put mapping, these are things, request mapping, API, v1. So these are the class level URL link, and we need the employee service interface method. Inside the service implementation class, we have taken employee DO interface. Inside the controller, we are taking the employee service interface. So why we are calling the interface methods means it will call internally implemented methods. From you can see the employee service interface, you can open it. We have the interface. For this, if you go for the implementation class, it will call from the implementation class. This is the implementation class. So here you can see the inside the service implementation class flow, it will go to the interface, employee DO interface. For this employee DO interface where we implemented methods, employee DO implementation class. So here we have the repository. You can see the repository. All the repository methods implemented by the JPA repository. So what is the poser class we have? What is the ID type we have? The same data we can achieve it. Okay. So these are simple CRUD operations using SpringBoot REST API and MySQL database using SpringBoot data JPA, Java Persistence API. So here I'm explaining the each and every annotation once again. So REST controller, okay, employee service implementation, okay, done. You can see the REST controller. So REST controller is nothing but combination of the controller annotation plus Spring Boot with REST API. And request mapping for the class level URL link. If you want to implement any endpoints URL links, we will go for request mapping. That is HTTP method. By default is a get method. It will take class level URL link. REST controller to implement the Spring Boot REST API protocols and converting our class as a HTTP handler mapping class. You can say the appropriate handler mapping, handler adapter pair. So when you go for the REST controller, the top of the class. So it will achieve the MVC environment. You can see the MVC environment here. Okay, MVC Java configuration of the MVC namespace. And inside that controller class, I am taking the employee service interface object, not the implementation class. And autowide is nothing but to create the object implementation class and get the reference and call the your required methods. And get mapping is the HTTP get method to read the information from the resource. Employees is the URL link and class level is API v1. And emp service dot interface method, if you call the find all, it will calls the find all method internally. Implementation method calls the your employee DAO method. Employee DAO interface method calling employee DAO implementation class. From there it will go for the repository. So I'm giving the flow. Same for the all HTTP methods. So I'm opening the find all method, open declaration. It is from the employee service interface method. So for this employee implementation class, we have the service employee implement service in class. Here we have the find all method. Inside that we are calling the employee DAO interface object. You can say the DAO object, that is interface actually. The interface contains substrat method. Again it will go for the implementation class where we have the employee DAO implementation class. Employee DAO implementation class. Inside this we have the repository. That repository provides your queries and what are the information we are expecting. So inside this you can see the find all method calling from the employee repository object. That repository object calling from your employee repository interface. The JPA repository will provide all the CRUD operation methods. Okay. So this is the story. And what is the table? That is employee class, table name, and what is the ID and what is the column names. Okay. So perfect. From the controller layer to your POSO class. For all the methods, not only for the one HTTP method, for all the methods. So employee by ID. So you can say the find by ID. If you open that find by ID implemented method, so we need the long ID. The same long ID only we are reading from the path variable. The path variable converting to the your long type and passing to the your find by ID method. That find by ID method is passing to the your employee service interface. From there it will go for implementation class. Implementation to employee DAO to employee DAO implementation class. From there it will call the repository method, repository find by ID, passing the long ID. From there it will retrieve the data, okay, and giving back to the user, single record. The same for the post mapping, creating operation, insert operation. Request body is nothing but, so what are the metadata format we have from request body? It will accept the meta format data to convert into the employee object. Now you can see the request body is the, so that is metadata format converting with the help of the HTTP message converter class. You can see the HTTP message converter is giving the information from the metadata format to your object type. There we are checking the information is valid or not. That validation will be provides validation on your properties. What are the properties you have? The binding properties. If it is not matching, you will get the method not support exception. The method argument not support exception, you will get it. So validating your properties. You can say the property validation. So then the property, okay, method of parameters. So getting the data from the meta format and converting to the employee format, that object, Java object format, then passing to the your add method. That's it, very simple. And employees by ID. So put mapping, where ID is matching, we need to update the data. So find by ID, we are getting the data, and where update method we are passing employee ID and employee records. We are setting the data for the your employee email ID, last name, first name. We are setting that and storing into the database and giving the status. So here we have the response entity is nothing but handling the exceptions and giving the your response status, it is success or failure, and the status codes. And even we are calling the resource not found exception because that ID is not available. We need to give the resource not found exception. Okay, these things. If you go for the directly repository methods, we have the lambda expression or else then throw the exception. Like that we can handle the exceptions also. I will show that. Okay. So this is the simple controller layer. Now after implementing the everything, all the classes and your POSO classes, repositories, exceptions, service layer, DAO layer, and controller layer, then start the main method class and test the application. Create controller layer and implement the HTTP methods inside the controller layer, okay, and test the application finally. So we have done all the steps. Okay, now time to start your application. And before starting the application, what we have to do, so we need to go for the mapping for your database mapping. We have to do, where we have to do the database mapping inside the src main resources. We have the application and properties file. By default spring startup right will provide. So here you need to add the your MySQL driver class, URL link, and username and password. So these things, okay. So these things already I have the data. So just I'm giving it. So These things you will get from the reference projects. Even I'm pushing this code to the GitLab or GitHub. You can copy from there. Okay, so just add it. So here is the best option is update only for best option. For initially, if you go for the create operation, maybe there is a already existed schema or existed tables in your database. It will drop and create. If you go for the directly update, it will use the previous table and add the data and read the data. Okay. So URL link is jdbc:/mysql localhost 3306 is the port number. May morning is the database name. You have to create the database in your system where in the MySQL database. Root is the default username. Password is the MySQL database password. What you given for your database, you have to provide your database password, your database name and your database password. These two things you have to provide. Okay. And how to create the database and use the database, these things. If you want, open the MySQL workbench. To MySQL workbench. So enter the password. So if you want to create the database, you can go for the create database name. So May morning already I have created, it won't create again. This is the command and use the database, and you can check the table already existed or not in your database. So use the database. So selected green color, you can see employees. So already we have the email address and first name, last name and ID. If you want to drop that, you can mention in your configuration create, or if you want to use the previous data and current data, go for the update. That's it. So there is no change. Okay. Next, dialect is nothing but I'm using the MySQL 8 dialect. So what is the your MySQL version? You can go for the MySQL 5 or InnoDB or Oracle dialect. If there is a Oracle database, give the Oracle information and Oracle dialect. Okay. So this is a Hibernate with the data JPA configuration. That's it. So everything is done successfully. Configuration and everything. Next, start your main method class. Okay. Start your main method class. By default, port number is the 8080. So run as Springboot app. You can check if any errors or any something coming in your console. You can verify it. Okay. Successfully executed. And I can say the 8080 port number, application started. You can see the started application, successfully dispatches are late. Okay, 8080. Now, what are the endpoints we have? Employee controller class. The class level URL link is the API v1. Class level URL link is the API v1. Okay, and the method level URL link is the employees get method employee by ID, post method employees, and put mapping employees. Okay, and delete mapping employees by ID. So these are the endpoints we have, HTTP methods. So API v1. So if you want to test the application, go for the Postman directly. I'm taking the Postman in my system already I have. If you want to download the Postman, so you can download from the Chrome. I will show that also how to plug in or how to download. So the get method. So localhost 8080 API v1 employees. Okay, just click on send button. If you have the record, you will get it. So in my database, we have the one record. That is one record, right? And if you want to create the your own record, so I'm taking the post method. So same URL link, and you can see the body. So here you can see that it is a request, it is a response, means it is input data. Here it is input data, it is output data. So here I'm taking the new record. Okay, so any name you can take it. So just click on send button, it will create the new record. The ID is not required actually, it is a post method with the default URL link. Okay, so click on send. You can see the 200 OK success, that is a created one record. And if you want to read the record again, now we can see the two records. It will carry forward two records. So previous record one and current record one. Even if you want to verify the data is in your database, you can verify it. First name, last name, and email address, and your ID, the same records. Okay, how it is working? When we go for the get method, see in our Spring Boot logic where we implemented the STS tool, API v1 is the URL link class level, and employees is the get mapping. We are selecting the get HTTP method, and URL link employees is the URL link, and a find all method it is calling. So I have explained already. So going to the your employee service interface from their implementation class, from their DAO interface, from their DAO implementation, their repository to your POSO type. So like this, it will go for the execution flow. Okay, and the same for the post method. Post method, it is the request body. It is a metadata format, JSON format. It will come to the your post mapping request body. With the help of that, we are reading the data, the metadata format, and converting to your Java object with the help of the HTTP message converter. And the same way we are calling the employee service interface add method, passing the employee object. The same object is going to the your employee service implementation, from their implementation to your DAO interface to implementation class, from their repository to your POSO. The same what I explained previously. The same for the delete and update based on the ID. Okay, so that's the same way. And if you want to read the data, so get by ID based on the ID. If you want to read that data, so you can go for the ID 3. You can see based on the ID, one record only we can read. The same URL link you can verify it. So coming to the get by ID, implies get mapping by ID. Path variable extract from the URL link. So what is the URL link we have ID? It will extract and converting to the long type. The same ID we are passing to the your employee service interface object. That interface object requires a long ID type. Okay, and open the declaration. So here we need the ID. That ID is passing to the your implementation class find by ID. So here we are passing that find by ID. So the find by ID is going to the your employee DAO interface. The DAO interface is calling implementation class find by ID. So here the implementation class we are calling the employee repository. That employee repository passing the ID. That ID is calling your employee repository interface, the JPA repository. It will calls from the internally. Okay, what is the type of the your POSO class and ID type. So this is the flow of execution for the, all the methods, not only for single, all the methods. And if you want to update the data, put mapping. So we have the put mapping. So employee controller, put mapping employees ID. Okay, and what is the ID we are selecting? We are taking the 3 ID already. We have the second name is the das, or if you want to modify the complete, you can modify it. Okay, so I'm modifying to the different name. Okay, Sanjay. So any name you can take it. Okay, so here you can go for the okay, so other.gmail.com. So where ID is matching, then just click on send button. You can see the tornado okay success. The data it is updated or not. If you want to verify in your database, you can verify it. See, updated. Okay, even if you want to modify, you can modify it so as per your requirement. So only one record, if you want to update, you can update it. So updated. And if you want to delete the data, we can first see all the records, how many records we have in our database. Okay, so we have the 2 records ID 2 and 3. If you want to delete, we can delete it. So delete operation, delete method, pass the ID. Okay, and click on send button. So deleted true. So here we have mentioned the our business logic. We are deleting map string boolean type. String type deleted, and boolean is the true or false. It is deleted true. If not, you will get the false. The same we will go for the remove method of the service interface, then implementation. The same story. So what we are giving every time for the update and all the things. Okay. So this is a simple CRUD operations using the MySQL database, data JPA, REST API and Spring Boot. And if you want to download your Postman, or if you want to plug into your Chrome, so go for the Postman Chrome extension. So you can see the Postman for Chrome. You can go for the add extension here, add to Chrome. So this is one approach. Or if you want to download the Postman software, you can download it. You can download the Postman and test the same way how I'm testing the application here. Okay. So I hope everyone got the how to implement Spring Boot, REST API, data JPA using the MySQL database. Okay. And if you guys have any questions or any doubts, maybe unable to implement, getting any errors, so you have my company website. Please go through the company website. There you have the mail ID. You can write the queries, or you can comment in your YouTube comments. Okay, you can comment in the comment box. We will discuss in detailed manner. If you want any other things, you can drop a message. Okay. So any other questions or any previous videos, if you want to go through that, so the reference videos, please go through my channel. Okay, previous videos, Spring Boot with collection, CRUD operations, and deployment for the Docker and AWS, interview questions. You can follow and watch my videos and subscribe. Okay, this is the first time I'm asking, subscribe and share to your friends. Why I'm asking means, if you subscribe more, it will reach to the more persons and more people. And if you share or if you like, then we will get the some support. If you comment, we will get to know so what is our delivery, so way of implementation, which is perfect or not. If we need to modify, or if you want to enhance any video capability or voice or delivery, so we will go for the as per your feedback actually. Okay, thank you for watching the video, and